More than 400 days have passed since the first Summit for Democracy in the US. During this period, what kind of democratic report card has the US delivered? And how does American democracy look to the rest of the world? Let's take a look. We have collected data from nearly 1.4 million articles using the keywords American democracy in 21 languages. Analyzing the data, we found several spikes in global coverage of American democracy. Under the guise of democracy, Pelosi's visit to China's Taiwan region triggered a heated debate. The US has been trying to use the Taiwan question to undermine China's peace and development again and again. Well, contrary to what the US might have expected, most of the media worldwide called the visit a stupid political stunt. After the political show, the US midterm elections drew global attention, another window showcasing its democracy. It has been reported that the total cost of the 2022 midterm elections exceeded $16.7 billion. The most expensive midterm election in history shows the true state of America: polarized politics, fractured society, and high inflation. Overall, after the first Democracy Summit, the US has not so far given the world a good impression of democracy. Then, how do different continents view US democracy? In the Americas, the Summit of the Americas raised concerns. Mexican President López Obrador is the first leader who refused to attend the summit because the US excluded Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua from the summit with the excuse that they were undemocratic. He said there cannot be a Summit of the Americas if all countries of the Americas cannot attend. It is actually not a Summit of the Americas, but a summit of regional allies. Turning to Asia, there was a discussion spike during Biden's first trip to Asia. The US's pivot to Asia is as obvious as ever. It talked about the Korean nuclear issue, announced the launch of IPEF, and attended the Quad. The intensive behaviors show Biden's eagerness to rally allies in Asia, as well as his ambition to counter China. However, civil discontent overshadowed Biden's first trip to Asia. Mass demonstrations broke out in South Korea and Japan to protest against Biden's visit, as it may well fuel tensions in Asia. In Europe, the NATO, G7, and EU summits drew attention. In the summits, the US forced its allies to take sides over the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The US called for hitting Russia hard and imposed strict sanctions. The sanctions exacerbated Europe's energy crisis. Though the US pledged to provide 15 billion cubic meters of liquefied natural gas to relieve Europe's energy crisis, the figure is only a tenth of what Russia previously supplied to the EU every year. The quantity is far from enough. Also, the US is selling energy at a much higher price, which is much more painful for Europeans. The result is, the US is profiting handsomely while its allies are suffering. The US tends to pretend as a leader of democracies, but in fact, the lighthouse of democracy is dying down. Within the United States, democracy is in deep trouble. Political polarization is intensifying, and money politics is rampant. As many as 64% of the American public believe their democracy is in crisis. The American people have lost faith in the illusion of democracy promoted by their government. After so many American farces, can the US hold another Summit for Democracy? It seems to bring nothing but hegemony and division to the world.